What's up? What's up? Thank you for joining in on another episode of the Price Podcast, where we talk about how sports and not just sports, the Christian worldview intersect one another. I'm Kyle Hunsinger. It's good to be on the show today. Just another reminder, if you would like to email me and get to know me more, go to pursuetheprize@gmail.com, or you can go to @KMoneyDH through X, formerly known as Twitter. Please contact me. Would love to answer any questions you have or get to know you better if you don't know who I am already. I want to talk about college football again. Yes, college football is coming up. I'm super stoked. It is only days away. Today is August the 8th as I'm recording this. You may be watching it later, but it is exactly, let's see, it's the 8th. I mean, we're under 20 days almost, I think. We're getting close to 20-something days. I know that for sure. I know for me with my game, I'm going to be watching the Tar Heels play the Minnesota Golden Gophers on August the 29th. Got a little bit longer, 21 days, but under 20 days for the kickoff of college football season for week 0. What you've been watching, I know for the past couple of weeks, is there's usually once a week where I go through some college football news because, again, that's the most recent thing that's going on. And just another reminder, as time goes on and other sports come up, I'm going to focus in on those sports because we go through the seasons where there's going to be some of those things. Once we get into the baseball playoffs and the World Series, I'll touch on those a lot more. I'll be honest with you, I'm not as much of a baseball fanatic, so I do sway away from those sometimes. But if there's significant news, I will definitely love to comment on those things and see how we can connect that back to learning more about the Lord. But college football is the topic for today. What I want to do really quickly is I want to go through the college football preseason rankings. And they're interesting. They're very interesting. If you remember, months ago, I did one. And for a long time, it was kind of a toss up. People were kind of going through Ohio State, would it be Texas? And Ohio State's still up there, but let's go through the preseason rankings right now. I'm going to list them off. I got it written down right here. I'm going to actually go number 10 first. We're going to just really surprise everybody. If you haven't looked it up online, you can go to ESPN.com, look on their preseason rankings for college football. Got Florida State, number 10. Went undefeated last year, but lost in the last game, obviously, to Georgia. Go Dogs. But then number 9, you got Penn State. I'll be honest, the ones I don't know a lot, I'm not going to comment about it very much. Florida State, I know, is going to have an interesting year because now they've got DJ Ongolele, however you're going to pronounce his name. I don't even remember how you pronounce his name. Doesn't really matter to me. All that matters is I think he's a great athlete. But will he do what he can do as a quarterback? Was not had his moments of success at Clemson, but didn't pan out for him well at the end. Cade Klubnik gets his spot. He goes to Oregon State, plays a year, does okay, but doesn't really have the best year in the world. Is he the dude that's going to just automatically, the lights are going to go on at Florida State? I'm doubtful. Not saying he can't, but who knows? We'll see what happens. But anyways, 10 Florida State, 9 Penn State. You got 8 with Michigan. I do think this is accurate. I think Michigan's going to have a little bit of a drop-off from last year, even though they won the national championship. I still think they'll be a decent team. Notre Dame at number 7. Come on, guys. When are we going to stop putting Notre Dame in the top 10? Notre Dame is a fine team. I'm not against them totally, but have they ever really done anything in the past 10 years? I mean, for me personally, it's just like, okay, whatever. But anyways, we'll see what happens. Who knows? I've heard they got Riley Leonard, former Duke guy. No disrespect to Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard is a great quarterback and was very talented, ran the ball really well. He ran over North Carolina a ton when he was playing us. Didn't matter because Duke almost beat us last year, but if it wasn't for Drake May's heroics, that wouldn't have been the case. So then you got him with Notre Dame at number 7, Ole Miss at number 6, Alabama number 5. I think Alabama at number 5 is right where they need to be. I think they could be higher. I think it's okay to have Texas above them, which is where Texas, they're number 4. Oregon at number 3. Do I trust Oregon completely? No. Do I think they could do well? Maybe. I don't know if they're number 3. Ohio State, I'm fine with putting them at number 2. And then you got the Georgia Bulldogs. For all my Georgia people listening in, I do think Georgia's the best team, but they got a really tough game in the beginning. They got to play Clemson. Here's Georgia's schedule. Some of their schedule. They got to play Clemson, neutral site at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. They got to play at Alabama in Tuscaloosa. They got to play Auburn at home, so they'll play that one in Athens. Then they got to play at Texas. Yikes. That'll be a really tough game. Can they win? I think they can, but Georgia definitely has a tougher schedule than they did last year. Got Tennessee. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if Tennessee comes in ready to pop or not. Then you look at Alabama. I'm focusing on them too because I have a lot of vested interest in seeing their schedules. I talked about Alabama's schedule with Wisconsin. I think it'll be a really tough game for them. I still think Alabama can win that game. Then they got to play Georgia, but they get home field advantage. We'll see what happens. I think Georgia will win that game, but I still think Alabama will give them a tough time. So we'll see. At Tennessee, that's going to be a tough one. Alabama fans, remember what happened at Tennessee last time? Y'all got to do better than that. And I think Alabama will get revenge. They'll get the revenge from a couple years ago when Tennessee fans did all their crazy stuff, tossing the field goal post because they hadn't won in 20,000 years. So, sorry, disrespect Tennessee fans there, but let's be real here. I mean, I think Alabama's going to win that one. At LSU, that's always tough for Alabama. I think that's also winnable. The one that's really interesting is at Oklahoma. I don't really know what to expect from Oklahoma this year. We will see if Brent Venables has his team together for this year and can do well. And then, of course, the Iron Bowl at the end of the year. You always know. It doesn't matter if Auburn's ranked, last place or first place. Doesn't matter. It's still going to be a good game. It's like when Duke and North Carolina play together. It doesn't matter if one's 1 and one's in dead last. It is always an interesting matchup. Couple notable ones. Clemson at 14. I thought that was pretty intriguing. Miami at number 19. I don't know. Everybody's picking Miami to be number 3 in the ACC. Everybody picks Miami to do well. I don't know. That'll be really interesting to see what happens in the rankings. But I did want to go ahead and touch on week 4, September the 15th through the 21st. A couple notable games for that. 2, one being Tennessee at Oklahoma. That'll be a really intriguing game. I think that Oklahoma will win that game. I think they're going to pull out the win. And Boomer will get the win. Then you got Clemson, and they're going to host NC State. Very intriguing game. I think NC State is a really, really good team this year. It pains me to say that as a Tar Heel fan, but NC State does have a good team. That could be a really intriguing game. NC State could get the upset. We'll see what it looks like with Cade Klubnik at quarterback. Clemson has a decent defense this year. I was listening to my informant, Claude Shumpert, yesterday. He was telling me a lot of good things about Clemson, but a lot depends on if the quarterback play is also good. So we'll see how that goes. One intriguing matchup I'm obviously going to mention, James Madison at North Carolina that week. That could be really intriguing depending on how good North Carolina does in the previous 2 games. They got to play Charlotte, and then in the previous game, they got to play Minnesota. Is it a winnable game against James Madison? Yes. Man, James Madison, they're very talented. And you got George Pettaway coming back to Carolina to face his old friend. So we'll see what happens in that. Be a very intriguing matchup. UVA has to play at Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina could upset them. Upset alert on that one. We'll see what takes place with that. And then the big game of that weekend will be USC, not talking about South Carolina, talking about University of Southern California. They will play Michigan, and that'll be an intriguing matchup. We'll see if Lincoln Riley can pull one out. and beat Michigan. I predict Michigan will win that game at Michigan, with USC and Michigan playing for the first time for Big Ten matchups. So with that being said, I find it very interesting with all of this, with the rivalries, the sports talk, college football, the excitement. But sometimes it's not exciting. Sometimes there's upsets. Sometimes there's things you don't expect. Could there be an upset in the making? Could there be different things that happen that we did not expect to happen? I'm sure Moses wasn't expecting to be the guy. I mean, think about Moses' story from Exodus. Moses is an Egyptian, has this high authority, but yet ethnically he is a Jew. He's a Hebrew. And he has, has the Egyptian garb and the Egyptian appearance on the outside, runs away from that because of how he sees his people estranged by all the problems that they're estranged with or entangled in. And then the Lord brings him out of, or not the Lord, the Lord brings him out of that, and says, "Hey, I'm going to use you. I'm going to use you regardless." And using Aaron as a mouthpiece for him. But what's really intriguing to me is one story that I thought was very interesting was the one that many of you probably have read before. It's a very peculiar passage in Exodus 4. It's the one where Moses is about to be slain by God because of his disobedience not to circumcise his son, one of his sons, and then giving a wave to my friend Matt. But one of the things that that Zipporah, his wife, brings up to him and says, she's the one that circumcised her son, even though Moses should have. Moses should have obeyed the covenant. He didn't do that. But God spares him in that moment. And I think it's really interesting in this moment we can declare, man, think about all the times the Lord spared us when we've disobeyed him. Think about all the times where it should have went one way, but yet we went the other way. We disobeyed. We didn't do what we were supposed to. We didn't walk in obedience like we should have. But yet God was so patient with us. And so there's going to be moments in the season and even in life in general with sports that, you're going to need patience. Or someone's going to be patient with you. You're going to make mistakes. There's always going to be this thing. But here's the reminder we see all throughout the story of Exodus and all throughout the Bible is, despite failure from people and the lack of obedience, God is still true to his covenant. He's still true to it. So when Zipporah, essentially takes the circumcision act, tosses her son's foreskin, as awkward as that is for me to say that, but does that and puts that in front of Moses, sheds blood, and it's a reminder of the blood that's been shed for us to keep us from us and having the wrath of God inflicted upon us. That's a very humbling thing. So there's going to be a lot of things that can be humbled in our life, including us. And so that doesn't exempt us from God's grace and mercy. And so my prayer today is that you will realize that you're humbled by a sacrifice that was made. Just like in sports, there's going to be times where we're humbled because of a loss or failure on our part. But yet, there's always these moments, these little moments where sprinkled of redemption. The gospel is so clear on that. There's moments where there is failure on our part, and we do fail a lot. Then God shows his sufficiency, his grace, and mercy, and he does it through Jesus. And that should give you hope today. Thank you for joining in on the Prize Podcast today, where we talk about sports and the Christian worldview intersect one another. If you want to know more about me, you can email me, pursuetheprize@gmail.com, or at KMoneyDH on X. I will see you next time for another episode of the Prize Podcast. I'll see you later.